So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I hope I will answer at least to some of the questions that you have. I'm actually working as project manager in Energy Cities, which you probably all know, a European network of cities in energy transition. I'm coordinating Innovate project, and I can tell you a little bit more about the project first. So Laura, if you could maybe go to the next slide, the next one. This is the Horizon 2020 project that will finish in May this year. So we are nearly in the end, and we have learned a lot of things. It's coordinated by Energy Cities, and we are really happy that we have on board a very experienced partner from France, Énergie Demain, who has been actually accompanying the third-party financing operators, some kind of public-private ESCOs, or we could say public-private companies. Sometimes they're fully publicly owned, who actually support homeowners in energy retrofit of domestic buildings, and who already are also able to finance or to provide financial offer to these homeowners. So the whole project in the beginning was very much inspired by these third-party financing operators in France. You might know some of them, like Picardie, Pass Rénovation, which is in the north of France, and there are 5 or 6 more such regional operators, or one-stop shops, we could also say. And we imagine that by the end of the project, we will have such operators operational in all the partners' territories. So we have 11 of them. It's a Brussels capital region, actually, which is represented by their Ministry of Environment. Administration, we have parity projects from the UK, which are actually working very closely with the Retrofit Works Cooperative. I can maybe later explain a little bit better what it is about, because I think it can be interesting for Stan, especially, who wanted to know more about participative modes of organization of the one-stop shops, let's say. They are working with certain boroughs in London, with Sussex and Oxfordshire. Then there is Riga Energy Agency, KAW, which is a consultancy made of architects, which has developed a kind of one-stop shop in 4 Dutch cities. Frederikshavn Municipality, from whom you already heard, Laura told me. Haarlem Municipality from the Netherlands, which can also be interesting for the city of Amsterdam, maybe, if you would like to later exchange with them. Linnaeus University in Sweden, who's been working closely with the municipality of Bacchio, very active member of Energy Cities. Litoměřice from the Czech Republic, Mantova from Italy, Extremadura region energy agency called Agenex in Spain, which could be interesting for San Sebastian, and Aradipu municipality from Cyprus. So maybe to the next slide, please. So our vision in the beginning of the project, and I have to say that we have big difficulties to achieve it. It's to actually implement deep energy retrofits, or to encourage deep energy retrofits in residential buildings. Next slide, please. We are focusing on single-family houses and on condominiums. So certain partners are focusing on both target groups, some of them only on one of them. And next slide, please. What we are trying to develop is, because we hear a lot about homeowners who are not ready to renovate their houses because of different reasons. I'm not going to go into details because we all know them. We actually, also through our previous project called Infinite Solutions, we realized that the financing or the lack of financing is not the only reason why homeowners are not retrofitting their buildings. We thought it's a huge obstacle, and we are only talking about finance as a barrier, but we realized it's not the only one, and that local authorities, if they want to achieve their objectives, they have to bring together all different aspects of or different solutions for different barriers that are preventing homeowners from renovating. And we also realized that just single measures, so one of these bricks of the one-stop shops, if you only do one of them, you are losing your goals, because you are missing all the other parts. So for example, some kind of communication campaigns where you only distribute some kind of general leaflets about why energy retrofits are important and that you have to insulate, they are not enough. People, they know more or less about it, but they need a very personalized advice on how to go about the retrofits. And there are different homeowners. There are those who want to do everything themselves, kind of do it yourself guys who just need a little push from someone and then they will do everything themselves. But there are also people who don't want to deal with it at all, with the renovation, and they just want to have one single point of entry, one single point where they go, and they will get the solutions for everything. So like a package where somebody, experts they can trust, will provide them with with the energy advice. They will provide energy innovation roadmap, how to go for these deep energy retrofits, who will coordinate the whole process from the beginning until the end. So coordinating all the craftsmen and suppliers and so on, so they don't need to sign the contracts and care about which offer is the best and whether they are being actually cheated maybe by the craftsmen, because apparently in many countries this sector is not very trustful, what we have learned. So they want to have an independent advice and also support from A to Z in the process, and ideally to also receive the financial offer that matches with their own situation. So in the project, we are trying to develop this kind of one-stop shops where people can come and they will get all these pieces of information in one place. What we also learned is that and kind of a separate or specific organization is needed. Maybe not local authorities, maybe not the most appropriate one to do this kind of marketing and to set up and run the business model, because this you have to be really proactive. You cannot just wait somewhere in the office and wait for people to come to your place for advice, but it has to be somebody who is really developing marketing strategy, really experts, and who are proactively trying to attract the homeowners. And very often local authorities, they are not that well placed because they are not communication and marketing experts. Maybe we can go to the next slide, where I just would like to show you that many of these pieces of puzzle actually already exist on the market. They are partially provided by different actors, but the idea of the one-stop shop is to provide all these services in one place. Next slide, please. So we have learned that there could be like different alternative business models for a one-stop shop. The first one is when local authorities or regions are the real developers of the one-stop shop. So they set up, the idea is that they set up a structure whose unique mission will be to encourage these retrofits and to accompany the homeowners. It could be a public or public-private company, or it could be, they could have a contract or partnership with a private company or a cooperative of craftsmen who will do this job for the local authority. This is kind of what happens in France. And the other option is if the local authority doesn't want to position itself or doesn't have enough resources or prefers the private markets and private actors to do the job, and they just want to ensure the coordination role. It's to become actually coordinators and bring these actors together so that they can provide these different services, ideally under the same roof, which is not so easy to do, but that's something that we try to manage. I can say that in the Innovate project, we have 11 partners or territories who are trying to develop one-stop shops, and only 2 of them are actually have chosen the first model of being developers. All the others, they wanted just to coordinate the process for different reasons. For example, Frederikshavn in Denmark, they didn't want to intervene in the private market. They didn't want to be in competition with the existing actors. In other countries or in other organizations, they didn't have enough political support or enough funds maybe to set up such a one-stop shop. And one of the other reasons was as well that many of them thought okay, we will first start with getting to know our territory, getting to know our partners, who can do what and so on. We start first with the coordination business model, and afterwards, when we get some more experience and we get to know the partners on our territory, then maybe we will move to the developer model. But why actually this developer model is there is because such a service of proposing this global renovation package doesn't exist on the market, because the private sector is either doesn't think about it, or it's not interesting for them from the financial point of view. So that's why local authorities and regional authorities are stepping into the market, and that's why they are creating these specific companies. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. So in this presentation, I wanted to focus on financing, but I wanted to make sure that we understand well each other and about what type of financing are we speaking, because we had this discussion within our project event as well. So first, we talk about financing for the one-stop shop. So how to pay for its operational costs. Let's say you need staff to work in the one-stop shop. You need experts, like for the marketing, technical experts, financial experts who will develop the financial plan for the homeowner, and so on. You need to pay the operational costs for the one-stop shop if it's a physical location, so maybe rental and electricity and all these things. So how do we pay for these one-stop shops? Usually for almost all of the partners, they have received public subsidies. For example, in the Netherlands, the Rijnmarkt shop, they have got subsidies from local authorities on which territories they open the physical shop. And during 4 years, they had 4 years actually to develop their business model that would run on its own, who would be self-sufficient financially. And afterwards, these subsidies were to be reduced or to be completely stopped. And then it could be also the energy efficiency certificates that could be the source of money for the one-stop shops. It's the case in France, for example. Then you have the possibility to charge homeowners for the service. And actually, you are even forced to charge homeowners for the service, at least for the part where you already start to work on a concrete proposal and when you start to do the coordination works for them, for example, because from that point, you are in competition with the private market. So until the point when you provide more or less general advice that usually, for example, energy advisors or energy agencies do, and you remain general and you do not really recommend specific companies or specific measures, you are not in competition with the private sector, and you can just finance these actions through public subsidies. But as soon as you start to propose something more than that, that also other private actors can do, like energy auditors or architects or other experts, then you have to ask for money for your service. Otherwise, it's not a fair competition, and there could be an issue of state aid. So these one-stop shops can be then financed from the fees that homeowners pay, but they can also be paid thanks to fees that the craftsmen pay, because these one-stop shops are also bringing job or work to the craftsmen who are going to work on the renovation works. So they can be part of your network, and they can pay the one-stop shop for the service of matching them with homeowners who want to renovate. But this is not the part of financing that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to focus more on financing for homeowners, because I thought that was the most interesting for you. Yeah, so there are like different options of financing the retrofit works, from the commercial bank loans, but these are usually not very interesting for homeowners because yeah, they could be quite expensive, because either you take the loan from the bank when you're buying a property, let's say, and then it can be interesting because the interest rates are quite low in many countries. But if you want to just renovate your existing house, then it would be a consumer loan, which is a short-term loan and which is much more expensive. So it is not that interesting for people. Then it could be other loans from public authorities or private finance, or directly from a one-stop shop. where you can offer loans to homeowners with some reduced interest rate, let's say, some kind of soft loans. Then there are different subsidies that you can have at local level or regional level or national level, tax incentives, usually only at national level. We have done a research in energy cities, but we haven't heard about any specific tax incentives that the cities would put in place to encourage or to pay for energy renovation works, except for maybe, for example, in Portugal, they offer or they reduce or the tax, I don't know how it is called in English, the tax that you pay for your property when you renovate the house, it's reduced or it's zero because it's the municipality who controls the tax. So if you renovate, then you don't pay taxes actually for a couple of years. So that can exist at local level. Then guarantees that, for example, you can create as a local authority a guarantee fund, which will reassure the banks if somebody doesn't pay back the loan, then the money is coming from this guarantee fund. So that's something that one of our partners, Extremadura Regional Energy Agency, put in place together with the region.
Where is that that they put that in place already?
In Extremadura region, they're about to put this fund in place. And actually, I've heard also about Navarra region in Spain, where they have such a guarantee fund.
Okay.
And maybe there are more, and we don't know about them yet. But yeah. So if there is that, yeah, of course, also in Brussels capital region, they have a Brussels Green Loan Scheme that I can talk about in a minute. And the region also had a guarantee fund to reassure their partner bank if somebody doesn't pay. But in 7 years, there was only one case when a family couldn't pay back the loan because there was a family member who fell sick or something. So they were already a low-income family with not that many resources, and they were in a very complicated situation. But it shows that usually people who borrow money for this kind of action, they pay back.
Okay. Yeah. Can you share maybe examples after this meeting, because that would help us a lot, because we are thinking about it as well, the guarantee scheme, you know. But we are in early phases with that. But if we can show that it's working in other regions, that would help us a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So I will write Navarra, Brussels capital, and Extremadura. But this one, it's waiting for the approval from the national government, because they need the national government's approval for that. But I can put you in touch with these people or send you the more information. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Do you have any, sorry, is it okay to ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Do you have any information on ways that municipalities have got funding in order to be able to give things like loans and subsidies?
Sorry, your question is how do they get funding to be able to provide subsidies?
Yes, the municipalities.
Okay, so it's the municipal budget, where they decide, it's a political decision that they will put money into the fund or into the municipal finance scheme, or that they will create a revolving fund. That's something that we actually, the city of Delft and a couple of other cities in the Netherlands, apparently through their national bank, SVN, they have put in place such revolving funds. And in Delft, it didn't work that well a couple of years ago because there was not that much interest in these loans, and the municipality couldn't really promote these loans because then they don't want people to get in debt. So they were in a kind of awkward situation, wanting to encourage them to do energy renovation works, but they couldn't encourage them to take loans because, yeah, they could get in debt, and the municipality cannot do that, at least in the Netherlands. So I don't know, I have to find out what the situation is there now, but they also got the money from the municipal budget for that.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, and they tried to do the same thing in Riga. That was, these guys were actually partners in the Infinite Solutions project that we had, that finished in 2017. And they actually, they had a big plan to set up a revolving fund, but they finally didn't manage because of the political decision again. Yeah. Yeah, then I stopped at guarantees, but then you also have energy efficiency certificates in some countries. So in France, for example, the one-stop shops, they ask their clients, the homeowners who are their clients, if they can recover the energy efficiency certificates. That's how their business model works. So homeowners do not get these certificates directly, but it's the one-stop shops who recovers them. And then finally, it's upfront financing, which can be very useful for low-income households. And that's also what municipalities can provide themselves or together with different partners like local banks. And we can move to the next slide, please. So here, I just wanted to show you what we actually found in the framework of the Infinite Solutions project before than Innovate, but it's still, I think, valid. You asked me, Laura, when we prepared the webinar, like which financing scheme is relevant for which type of household or homeowner. And we learned that there is no one scheme that would fit all the households. So in the framework of Infinite Solutions project, we wanted to develop soft loans, so low interest or zero interest loan for citizens, together with partner banks. But we realized that this is not for everybody. So purely commercial loans that are already on the market, very low income households, they have no access to these loans because it's not interesting for banks. Low and medium income households, they can maybe have access, but usually they are already in debt because they bought their house or something like that. And sometimes then they do not have access to more loans or they are not so attractive. And for high income households, existing loans, they are attractive because they can get very good conditions with no problem. Subsidies, if you provide subsidies or soft loans as a local or regional authority, very low income households, you can make them eligible. So it's you, because it's your own funds who decide whether very low income households are allowed to benefit from your scheme or not. So that's the advantage, because the bank wouldn't do it. But even with that, sometimes they have problems with upfront financing, because usually, the problem with subsidies is that you receive them afterwards, once the energy renovation works are done. And when you prove that you have done them, you have achieved some energy savings, and the subsidy comes only afterwards. For low and medium income households, subsidies are maybe not, you are usually not eligible because you are somehow in between. And high income households, they are not eligible, and sometimes they are. It depends like how you set up your scheme. For example, in the city of Aradipu in Cyprus, they decided to open their financing scheme to everyone with no limits of income, and even they are focusing on medium income and high income households, because they want to encourage some kind of front runners to renovate, and they hope that the others will follow. So it's really up to you to decide to whom you provide, if you have any funds yourself, to whom they go. And what is maybe the best solution? So for very low income households, because they can have the problem with this upfront financing, you can create some kind of subsidy advance payment fund, so that you pay them in advance, and afterwards you recover the subsidies. That can be, for example, offered at national level, let's say. And they have done this in the city of Bordeaux in France, in Bordeaux Métropole, because in France, they realized that very low income households, they can do the renovation works only through subsidies. They can finance 100% of renovation work costs through subsidies. They have lots of subsidies. But these people still couldn't do it because they didn't have the money upfront. So the municipality decided to set up such a fund with a financial institution, the local one, who will actually finance everything, pre-finance, and then from the national government, they will recover these grants. So homeowners, they do not see the money at any point. It's turning between the municipality, the financing institution, and the national government. And these households would also benefit from technical assistance from a one-stop shop, let's say. For low and medium income households, you could imagine soft loans and grants are very attractive, and they could work for them, and also technical assistance. And for high income households, technical assistance is often needed, but usually they can get their own loans, or they can pay for the renovation works from their own savings. Also, if your financial scheme is set up in a way that they can be the free riders, this group will for sure take advantage of that, because they are usually, yeah, they know very well what's going on. They know how to make let's say an application, or how to ask for a loan and all these things. Yeah, we can maybe go to the next slide. So I just wanted to show you a couple of examples of financing schemes that we have tested in the framework of Innovate projects. And I would like to say that in the one-stop shops that we tried to set up, most of the partners, they didn't develop their own financing scheme. They are only promoting what exists already at national level. And for example, in the Netherlands, there is a national energy efficiency fund who has very interesting loans for homeowners. I don't know what our colleague from Amsterdam maybe can say about it later on, but apparently this is something that is very attractive for homeowners. So they thought it doesn't make really sense to develop something new, because this already exists and they have to make use of the existing financing scheme. Or they just simply didn't have funds, or yeah, the political decision wasn't there to set up a kind of a fund or a soft loan scheme on their own. But we still have a couple of examples. The Brussels Capital Region loan, it's called Brussels Green Loan, which was developed and which is now revamped, actually, together with a financial cooperative called Credal. It's a kind of alternative ethical bank, which was interested in this kind of a project, and in cooperation with the housing fund. That's the fund that is owned by the region. So they had these two resources to provide soft loans to citizens. And they also have a technical assistance for homeowners via the so-called Energy House and Sustainable Building Facilitator for large condominiums. And as I mentioned, they also had a guarantee fund to ensure Credal that reassure Credal that if there is no payment, that they will get their money back. On the next slide, there is the example of Aradipu municipality. So it's a quite little city in Cyprus, and they are very engaged, and they have lots of political support. They decided to develop a municipal grant scheme. The grants are used, the first part rewards citizens for energy renovation works based on energy savings achieved. So if anybody wants to do energy renovation works, they get a grant. If they also decide to go to a bank and to do more works and to get a loan to be able to do more ambitious or more investments, then they get another part of the grant. And they also developed partnerships with the private sector. So they are trying to get private partners to contribute to this public, for the moment, public municipal scheme, and to get €1 of public money matched with €1 of private money. Because they think that also the private sector and craftsmen and so on will get something out of it. And they have also the cooperation with local companies who actually showed interest to develop some kind of discount vouchers of 4% on the renovation works or on the technologies that are installed, as a discount or reward for citizens. So it's been launched in the autumn last year. The next one is Extremadura region in Spain that I talked about. So thanks to this guarantee fund, they want to offer loans which are longer, more than 12, 15 years, and with lower interest rates. It's only dedicated to energy housing renovation, and it's still ongoing because the regional already approved the creation of the fund, but they are waiting for the approval of the Spanish national government. And the last one, it's more the example of cooperation or this coordination model, where the city of Frederikshavn developed partnerships with 8 local banks who committed themselves to provide always lower interest rates to citizens who want to renovate than they would normally receive through a commercial loan. So it's always adapted to the person who is asking for money, to their income, to their credit worthiness, and so on. Yeah, they didn't develop any public fund or something like that to provide loans to citizens. It's all coming from private banks who showed interest to cooperate on this. And yeah, at the end, if you would like to know a little bit more about the soft loans and third-party financing for home renovations, maybe you can learn a lot from the guidebook that we have developed in the framework of Infinite Solutions project that was much more focused on finance. And otherwise, if you're interested in the whole concept of one-stop shops with all the bricks of the puzzle, then you can read the inventory of best practices that we have done in the framework of Innovate project, and that will be also updated before the end of the project. And we are now working also on policy recommendations and on the final brochure with case studies of each of our partners, because many of them are really interesting. They're all very different. And yeah, we will also have our final event in Herlen on the 21st of April, just before our annual conference. So you're very welcome to join. And if you would like to then also participate in our annual conference, which is also a nice occasion to talk to people with similar initiatives, then you're welcome to join both. And that's more or less what I would like to tell you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.